Now, another thing is the men in the Bible wanted to know the men sent to them. Now, part of the practice is they would stretch a man out on the bed, right, in Jasher 19, and stretch him out to the point of death, right? And they would measure him, right? And if he was under a certain height, right, um, I guess they were trying to, like with the giants, right, make sure he was so tall, right, to be allowed in the city, right. And even if the man died, right, and this is all right here in the book, right, um, so they wouldn't care if he died or not, either, right. Now, that could be part of what they were wanting to do with the angels as well. Is measure them, right. But it's still cruel if you don't know the person and they're new to your city to do that to somebody, right. Now, and you're not supposed to do that either. That's still considered inhospitality or being inhospitable to strangers, right. And that's part of the problem as well. You can read it all here. Right. So, in verse 4, and as he lay down, there measured him by the length of the bed, right? And if the man was less than the bed, then these 6 men would stretch him, right, at each end, right. And when he cried out to them, they would answer him, and if he was longer than the bed, they would draw together the 2 sides of the bed in each end until the man reached the gates of death, right. And if he continued to cry out to them, they would answer him saying, This is thus it will be done to a man that comes into our land, right. Well, see, that's torture, right. And that's not allowing for strangers to come into your land, right. Well, there's no reason for that, right. That don't even really make sense, right. So it wasn't even that it was sexual or not either necessarily, Perry, right. But what they're doing is when the stranger came into the land, they're measuring him by the bed, right. And if he was too short, they stretched him out, and if he was too long, they tried to make him shorter or something, right there. And at the same time, this had nothing to do with homosexuality, but right, if that's what they were wanting to do with the angels, right, Come on. Right. That's just as bad as sex with a man. Right. Now, the reason, what I'm talking about is, does Jesus, by grace, allow homosexual being to marry? Yeah. Here's why. If they love each other, that's different than forcing a relationship upon a man who's not gay. Right. That's what I'm saying. Right. Jesus would know the difference between forced marriage or forced sex, even. Right. Rape is rape. Right. You're right. The angels, if it was to be sexual, should not have been raped by the men. Right. Either. Right. Mm-hmm. Because they were strangers in the land. Right. But if this was one of the practices as well, they were going to put them by force in the bed and try and stretch them out. Right. Or see if they fit in the bed. Right. And if they were too short, they would try and stretch them out, or too long, they would try and make them shorter. Right. Basically what it's saying there. Right. Now, that has nothing to do with sex unless, again, right, that's part of the continuing torture, right, as if they didn't, and I just heard about it, so I'm looking into it, right. I might find out more information on it, too, right. I know. And so they were torturing the men, right, basically. And it was 6 men total, 3 at the head and 3 at the feet, right. So that's still 6-1, or if they put each angel in the bed, that would be still 6-1, right. On each side of the road, right, of the street in the city of Sodom, right. And that's cruel to do to strangers, right? That means they were inhospitable to strangers, right. They weren't allowing strangers to enter their city, right. Well, you're not supposed to be inhospitable to people who aren't necessarily doing you wrong yet, right. You got to get to know somebody, right. Well, unless you're having a population problem in the city, there's no real excuse to do that to people in the first place, right. One reason might be they don't want to build on to the city another house to house the new people, right, coming to the city, right, if you understand what I mean, right. Well, if you have new people come to your city, you got to build a place for them to stay, right. And that's becomes overpopulation. And see, that can be a problem too, right. Now, that's why we're preventing people from Mexico, in a way, from coming into America anymore. We also think at 300 million, our population is pretty much reaching a brink, right. So we're trying to control the number of people who are coming into the United States. So that's another thing Biden and his side ain't looking at, right. How large the population of America is now compared to when it was when we first, right, became a nation, right. Well, we're around 300 million ourselves, right. That's a pretty large population for one country, right. I know. Now, the largest is still China with over 1 billion, right. Now, come on, right. Mm-hmm. Now, if they want little Taiwan, I don't know what much we can do about it now, right. It's just practically an island, right, off the coast of China itself, right. And, right. If they want one friggin' China and the only thing missing is the island of Taiwan, well, okay, right. At the same time, right, what can you really do about it, right? I know. Fight them over it, or right. And see, all that costs us and China money, right. And, people to fight that war, right. Same with what's going on with Israel and Hamas. Now, the problem is, President Biden, right? Will the Palestinian states allow Jewish people to live in them? Right. See, the thing is, any country has to allow people from other countries to live in it. Right. Right. And be hospitable to others. Right. See, that's another problem. Right. Most nations are usually hospitable to other nations. Right. Yet in the Bible, we see that not everybody carries that moniker, like with Sodom and Gomorrah. Right. Some people don't want you to become part of their city. Right. And that's kind of what that had to do with how they dealt with strangers. Right. Well, that's what people, modern day theologians are talking about, too. Right. The inhospitability of Sodom and Gomorrah is that if someone strange came to the city, this is what they would do to them, which is kind of torturous, right? Even to the brink of death, they're stretching somebody out on this freaking bed, like, what the hell, right? And it's like, if you're too short, they stretch you out longer, and then if you're too tall, they try to push you back down or something, right? And that's kind of crazy, right? Right. So what if the person fit the bed perfectly? They weren't done wrong. I mean, yeah. Well, what is it saying even, right? And it's in the book of Jasher to deal with some of the things Sodom was doing, and its judges was allowing being to do to new people coming to the city, right? And this ain't exactly sound like anything normal, right? People should really make part of entering any city, right? Is you have to lay in this bed, and if you're too long or too short, they try to torture you, right? Using 6 men, right? To do the torture, right? And 3 at your head, 3 at your foot, they try to stretch you out like you're some kind of pinata or something, right? Or some kind of, like, by doing that, they could make you taller or shorter, which they can't do that either, right? I know, which makes hardly no sense, right? Okay,